Welcome to Second Take, the show that focuses on the issues behind the news. AngloGold Ashanti's South African mines have slumped to outlier status as strongly performing lower-cost international operations show them up as laggards. Mining Weekly editor Martin Creamer tells us more. Hi, Martin.
Hi, Sashnee.
AngloGold Ashanti's CEO recently said that the company's South African mines have slumped to outlier status. Can you tell us what he meant?
Yeah, well, he flashed up a big slide for us all to look at, and then he interpreted the slide. And it's like when you play a round of golf, you want to be part of a tournament. If you don't reach a certain score, you don't make the cut. Well, this particular slide also had a cut line, and really making the cut were all the international mines, particularly the new ones. International mines, when we talk about international mines, it's Kibali in the Democratic Republic of Congo. There's also Africa, not far from here, and Tropicana in Australia particularly. Okay, there are new mines. But outside of the cut, not making the cut, were our, what we call the West Wits mines, the West Rand, the Far West Rand gold mines. And sort of with the cut going right through them, was the Vaal River mines. So the interpretation is that, these people are not really part of the profit-performing portfolio. They're lying slightly outside. They're outliers. They're lagging behind. And this was quite disturbing because, these were formerly pride of place assets. And now we see another blow coming through where they're not really firing on all cylinders like the international mines are. So you can say, well, the gold price is down, but the international mines within AngloGold Ashanti, and they've got 19 operations in 9 countries, the ones outside of South Africa are doing very well. Even with a low gold price, comparatively low gold price and a falling gold price, they're still bettering their position all the time. They're lowering their costs, so their cost per ounce are coming down to levels that give AngloGold Ashanti a good margin, and in fact save the bacon of the South African mines, because if the South African mines were left to be reported on their own, the company would have been in a serious loss position. But because the international companies, mining companies, are doing well, they bring the total portfolio into a much better position. So it is disturbing news that our big South African mines really are loss makers. They are not even meeting the new gold price. Their all-in costs are above what they're getting for the gold price, particularly the current gold price. Perhaps in the quarter that they're reporting on, it wasn't as bad. But when you see the gold price today, if those companies continue to perform at that level, they're going to increase their loss situation.
And safety stoppages have been mentioned as being pervasive. How has this affected production?
Yeah, it was a torrid safety quarter. I mean, really. We're not just talking about injuries, we're talking about 5 deaths. So in South Africa, we had been priding ourselves in actually moving away from those fatalities, those high levels of fatalities in a quarter. I think they last recorded something like this in 2012. And people have been saying, look, if government and business work together, we can beat the safety thing. It's been one of the examples of how collaboration can work. Now, all of a sudden, it was a torrid quarter, 5 fatalities. And when you have those fatalities, you then have stoppages because the government and yourselves, the mines stop work themselves to find out what's going on. The government also comes in and exercises Section 54 regulations, which means that you can't actually continue with mining until the government says you can go ahead, and sometimes that creates long delays. So that is another reason why the South African operations perform so badly, the lack of safety. And people were concerned, and they were saying, why suddenly do we have this bad safety record in a quarter, and how come does it coincide with the wage talks? And are these wage talks influencing these situations? Every time we have wage talks, we have more deaths in the mine. What's going on? So it's a very disturbing time, and nobody was prepared to say outright that it wasn't linked to the wages. So one fears that when you have these wage talks, they're hugely disruptive, and perhaps the behavior patterns get a bit more aggressive, and then you end up with these deaths, which is terrible and unacceptable. But that then knocks your production. Then you start looking very bad against your international peers, and then the analysts start baying for your blood, as they did at the presentation of results on Monday. Analyst after analyst saying, South Africa is draining this company. Why don't you get rid of those assets, sell them off? That sort of sentiment starts to come through because people feel that they hold disturbance on the normal performance of the other mines. But that's what happens, when you have these deaths, and are the deaths linked to the wage talks? That's a horrific contemplation.
And AngloGold Ashanti is also developing new South African mining technology. Can you tell us a bit about this technology and how it forms part of the company's strategy?
You see, this will be great. It forms part of the strategy because they prepared, even though we're in difficult times, they're not prepared to abandon some of the expenditures that will be very good in the future. And this particular technology, they call it the South African technology. It's raised boring technology, and they call it South African technology because they want to be magnanimous and generous with it. And if other mining companies want it, they want to offer it to them as well, because they say that it's got a safety aspect. It makes sure that you can mine as well in areas where people are not allowed to be in large numbers. So it gives you that opportunity to mine pillars at this stage, which are normally very rich, and hopefully it'll be migrated across the board. But what happens is that you don't drill and blast, which doesn't add to the safety itself. If you blast in an underground mine, it shakes the place up, and later you can have falls of ground. Like these 5 deaths were all falls of ground, because if there's seismicity and the earth begins to shake, if you've been blasting around the place, it adds to the vulnerability of the people. So when you go to this new technology, they don't blast. They bore into the earth. Mother Nature doesn't even know they're around. They bore into the reef where there is gold, and they take the gold, all the gold, only the gold, safely. And they withdraw that gold, and they carefully keep it containerized so that it's not, there are no huge losses. Compared with putting explosives and blowing the place to pieces, you don't even know where the gold is. It scatters all over the place. Some large volumes of it you can't find. So it is a hugely wasteful way we mine. I mean, it's ridiculous that we're still mining like this. Instead, they can do 1,000 meters with this boring, taking the gold, only the gold out, and then making sure that it's packaged so that there's minimal losses. And then they quickly backfill it. They backfill it with a very tough cement-based backfill. And they've just succeeded in doing it over, this 1,000 meter length. So they're very happy, because now Mother Nature doesn't know that this gold has been taken out because you've slipped in a backfill. And then you go to the next hole and you start boring again. And this cycle, the time it takes to do this is being reduced continually. So they're getting better and better at it. And at the moment, it doesn't displace any jobs at all, because you're using it in places where you're not allowed to have people anyway. You're not allowed to mine in a way that you blast. So you wouldn't be allowed to mine those pillars. But using this technique, you can mine the pillars, because you're backfilling so fast that it stabilizes and you're not blasting. So it is something that is quite important for South Africa, because if we are going to get to these tons of gold that are still in the ground, and there's more gold in the ground than we've mined in the last 100 years, are we going to leave it behind? Or are we going to get a new technology that can actually get this out properly, safely? And, we're mining at about 3.7, 3.8 kilometers down now. The gold doesn't stop there. It goes down to 5 kilometers and deeper. So, and sometimes the grades get richer as you go down. So we need to have a sort of patriotic challenge. Hey, are we going to get this gold out? 40,000 tons of gold down there. We've got to get it out, but we need the technology to do it, and it's got to be safe. And this South African technology is impressing people. They're upbeat. They're saying, look, we think it's heading for the break-even stage. It's going to go into the commercial stage, as we move further on it. Obviously, the initial cost has been quite high, but all of them are convinced that they're heading for a commercial situation, and they're also prepared to allow this to go into other companies for South Africa's sake.
Thanks for chatting with us, Martin.
That's a great pleasure, Sashnee.
That's it for today. Join us again next week for more news analysis on South Africa's mining industry.